My name is Navid Shaghighi. I graduated in May from UC Berkeley in a degree in Electrical Engineering, Computer Science, EECS, and a simultaneous degree in Philosophy. I was involved with Occupy Cal from day one. Before Occupy Cal started, I was involved with Occupy Oakland. I was at the port shutdowns, and I encountered a person on Sproul Plaza who, by the name of Alex Kim, who was there on the international circle, and he was calling himself Occupy Sproul. And so, you know, some of the friends and us started talking, and then there were other groups on campus which were gathering in order to have a huge presence on November 9th, 2011 on Sproul Plaza for against fee hikes and lots of other social justice issues. So I attended that, even though I wasn't part of any official group or organization on campus. But then, you know, we pitched a few tents in the same manner as the Occupy Wall Street movement or Occupy Oakland, and then, you know, the cops came and beat us up, and that was essentially where Occupy Cal was born. So we could say that this brought together a whole bunch of people who, you know, if it wasn't for Occupy Cal, they would have perhaps, you know, never met. People would walk on campus, and yeah, people are busy. They're going to class, they're going to work. They don't really pay attention to the other people that they're walking right across from. But when you pitch a few tents, and now that same person that you wouldn't pay any attention to is now sitting in a tent next to you, and as you're sharing food and water and space with, now you sort of get to know them, and as a result of that, you're more open to the ideas that they have, and they're more open to your ideas, and now you can have a dialogue, whereas in before you would just walk right past them. So it creates a sense of community. So to say all, you know, to sum all that up, perhaps you might say, okay, so 1 year later, well, you know, what now? I think the people who were involved got a lot of experience, not just with you know, how to be an activist, but they got a lot of experience with how to deal with people, how to be open to other people's ideas, and how to be able to interact in a society and really know you know, what it's like to have hardships that we might not face ourselves. We're not homeless, we're mostly students out there, but sometimes there are homeless people that would come and join because they were part of Occupy Oakland, or etc. Or you know, we would get people from other lines of life that made minimum wage and didn't have any money, or we would get people who were professors who would come out there. So, you know, you get all these different ranges, and how do you communicate with all these different groups? And I think that was a great experience for students to be able to be involved in that social experiment. And I guess really after that it comes to the fact that there was the sense of community that I talked about earlier, that everybody would now be able to feel something for other fellow humans around them, and they would, you know, if the police come to tear down my tent, this person who I just met 2 days ago is going to stand up and defend my tent as well, and I'm going to do the same for his. So that sense of camaraderie that is built there is very valuable as well. So I would say the best thing really is that even though if the name Occupy Cal goes away and people don't, you know, come around for it again, students and the people who were involved in that learned a lesson of they can live their life in this way. The name really doesn't matter that much, even though the name is important and it carries lots of the history, but the way of fighting for social justice is what is important, and the students and people who are involved can continue that regardless of what happens and how much oppression we face, both physical and from the school system. So with all that said, I would say I would totally do it again in a heartbeat, not a question asked. When students are being beat up with batons because they're standing there for peaceful protests asking for their administrators and regents to come out and talk to them, I don't think there is any need for, you know, big decisions to be made. It's almost an impulse that is wrong, and I'm going to go and join that chain of human chain and defend free speech, because after all, this is the birthplace of free speech, and if we can't have free speech on this campus, then we quite frankly can't have free speech anywhere.